Well, it's a beautiful morning. I've decided to go ferry boat riding in the Fundy Isles. I love to travel that way in the summertime. I've just got a couple of errands to run, so really it's just an excuse to use the ferries. But such a beautiful day, I thought I'd take you along with me and show you what ferry boat riding in the Fundy Isles is like. To start the trip, I'm going to take the privately owned small ferry to Deer Island from Campobello, where I live, catching the 9 a.m. ferry, which I guess won't be any problem pulling down the lane here. There's only, I guess, 3 vehicles ahead of me, and the ferry, I don't know, holds a dozen vehicles anyway, depending on size, whether or not there are trailers involved. Oh, down at the ferry landing, which is just a concrete ramp that goes down the beach. Various amounts of it exposed at various times of the day, depending on how high or low the tide is. I would say by the looks of it, the tide's coming in, and it's about halfway in. And that's Eastport, Maine. And over that way is Deer Island, where I'm going. And if you can make out the small blue object in the water coming this way, that's the car ferry. I'll take the car ferry from here to Deer Island on the 9 o'clock ferry, drive the length of Deer Island, and probably catch the 10 o'clock or the 10:30 ferry off Deer Island, the government-run ferries, which are free, toll-free, to Letite, New Brunswick, which is another, 20-minute or so ferry ride. This ride going across here is about 30 minutes. The vehicles that were on the car ferry coming over are leaving to go on to Campobello for the day. Driving down to get on the ferry. Somewhat embarrassing if I drive off into the water here, but driving with one hand to get on a car ferry, probably not a good idea. Ding, ding, ding. I did not fasten my seatbelt, but that's all about. We are on the car ferry. I don't suppose it shows up very well with the little dot off there in the water. It's another ferry about this size, a little bit smaller, that goes from Deer Island, New Brunswick over to Eastport, Maine, run by the same company that runs the one that I'm on today. Coming up on some of the smaller islands before we get to Deer Island. A really tiny one there, basically a rock with a few trees on it, is Cherry Island. Now has an automated lighthouse on it. When I was a lad growing up around here, it had a real lighthouse and a lighthouse keeper who lived off there. He used to come in his make and break boat to my grandfather's little pier on the North Road. My grandfather sold gasoline to the boats, and he would come to Campobello to get gasoline fuel for his other things, his lamps and whatever that he ran on Cherry Island, but that's been torn down. Behind Cherry Island, almost looks like part of Deer Island now, is Indian Island. It's quite a long, narrow island, probably half a mile long or better. It's all privately owned. It has several very nice summer cottages on it. Behind that is Deer Island, where the ferry's going. A little better look at Cherry Island. Behind it is Indian Island, a long sandbar, and you can see one of the summer cottages there. I was on the ferry a few years ago, and I was sitting in my car reading a book, and thought we'd pulled into Deer Island. I looked up and we were on the beach beside that cottage. The summer people were getting ready to leave, and we pulled in there, and they loaded a canoe full of everything that they were taking off onto the ferry and went over to Deer Island, where I guess they must keep their vehicle in the summertime. Getting in closer here to Deer Island Point. That's where it's a large campground, privately run campground at the point, and it's also where the car ferry lands. Small yacht coming up between the islands, between Indian Island and Deer Island. I guess I better go get in my car. That's the beach where we're going to land. Drive up on Deer Island. Kind of chilly out there. Feels good to get back in the warm car. We're almost into Deer Island. That's it, we're on Deer Island. Coming up to the customs building, where we don't have to stop because we came from Canada, but the passengers that are coming back and forth from Eastport, Maine, stop here and get cleared into Canada. That's the ferry there starting to come in. Similar idea to the one that I came over on, except, I mean, it's a barge, you drive on, drive off, but there isn't any boat pulling this one. It's self-propelled, and it's much larger. I'm not sure how many cars it'll take, but 25 or 30 or more. They have two of them, so that the There's one departing here every 30 minutes if they're both running. Early ferries on the Saturday morning are not full. looks like things are picking up. When I go back home, I may have a bit of a lineup, I guess. Well, I made pretty good time. Taking the 9 o'clock ferry off Campobello, I'm over on the New Brunswick mainland by 10:20. And my first stop has to be at the fish shack for a bag of fresh dulse. I don't know if you can see that, if that's in focus or not, but for those of you who don't know what dulse is, it's seaweed, a dried seaweed. I absolutely love the stuff. It's addicting. Stop number 2 is Canada Green in St. George. My favorite garden center. I love to come here at least 2 or 3 times in the summertime. Always manage to find something that's very reasonably priced. I often wished I could afford some of the lovely statuary that they have here for the gardens. Mermaid here with dumping a shell with water into the little pond. I'm enjoying having a look around at their polytunnels, hoop houses. Much larger than the one I've got ordered, but I have a 16 by 20 foot one, which shipped yesterday, should arrive sometime in the next week. Back on the ferries on my way back to Dare Island. Couldn't have timed it any better. The ferry was all loaded and there was just space for one more vehicle, and that was me.